The locksmith was still installing the third deadbolt on my front door when I pulled into my own driveway, returning early from my business trip. My parents' car sat there like they owned the place, which apparently they thought they did now. Through the window, I could see my pregnant sister directing painters in what used to be my home office. The nursery wallpaper was already half up. I am Eaton Fisher, 32 years old, and this is the story of how my family tried to steal my house while I was gone, and why the demolition crew I'd already scheduled became my best investment ever. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you are watching from. Let me back up a bit. I work as a software developer for a tech company based in San Francisco, but I've been fully remote since 2020. When I bought my 4-bedroom house in Bellevue 2 years ago, my parents couldn't understand why a single woman needed all that space. "You're wasting rooms that could house a real family," my mother would say every Sunday dinner. "Jessica and Tom are cramped in their 2-bedroom apartment, and here you are rattling around alone." The truth? I needed the space. One bedroom was my actual bedroom. Another was my home office where I spent 10 hours a day. The third was a home gym, and the fourth stored my photography equipment, a side business that brought in an extra $2,000 monthly. But to my parents, I was just their older, disappointment daughter who chose career over marriage. Jessica, my younger sister, had always been the golden child. Married at 23, divorced at 26, remarried at 27. But my parents conveniently forgot about that first marriage whenever they lectured me about being behind schedule. When Jessica needed $15,000 to pay off credit card debt from her first wedding, Dad wrote the check without blinking. When she wrecked her car driving distracted, Mom bought her a new one. Me? I'd been financially independent since 18, paid my own way through college, and never asked for a dime. The down payment on my house came from 5 years of living on ramen and saving 70% of my salary. But somehow, I was the family failure because I didn't have a ring on my finger or a baby on my hip. "Family helps family," Dad would always say, but that street only ran one direction, toward Jessica. The favoritism wasn't new, but it had gotten worse since Jessica's second marriage. Every family gathering became a masterclass in double standards. When Jessica borrowed my laptop and returned it with malware from her pirated movie downloads, I was told to stop being petty about things. When she announced she needed to stay in my guest room for just a month during her separation, it turned into 6 months of her treating my home like a hotel. "Your sister needs support, not judgment," Mom had said when I finally asked Jessica to leave. She'd been bringing her boyfriend over while still technically married, and I wasn't comfortable with that drama in my space. The real kicker? During those 6 months, I discovered Jessica had been telling everyone I was charging her rent, $1,500 a month, supposedly. The truth was I'd never asked for a penny, even covered her groceries. But she needed the money for her Fresh Start fund, so she collected sympathy cash from relatives while living free in my house. When I confronted her, she cried to our parents. Dad called me financially abusive for even bringing it up. Mom suggested I needed therapy for my jealousy issues. The extended family got a version where I was the cruel sister kicking out poor, struggling Jessica. That's when I installed security cameras, inside and outside my house. Call it paranoia, but I'd learned that with my family, documentation was protection. Those cameras would later save me from losing everything. The breaking point came 3 months ago when Jessica announced her pregnancy. Suddenly, my parents' hints became demands. "That house has perfect school districts," Mom pointed out. "Jessica's baby deserves the best start in life. You could easily get a nice apartment downtown, closer to nightlife for singles." Singles. Like it was a disease that made me unworthy of homeownership. Jessica's pregnancy changed everything. Her husband, Mike, was a freelance consultant, which meant he played video games while occasionally doing odd jobs. Their combined income couldn't qualify them for a decent rental, let alone a mortgage. Naturally, my parents saw my house as the solution. "You could share the space," Mom suggested during Jessica's gender reveal party. "You're gone half the time anyway with your little work trips." "Those are business conferences, Mom. And I work from home. I need my office. Offices are luxuries, Dad interjected. Family is necessity. Jessica's baby needs stability. The requests escalated quickly. First, it was, could Jessica store some baby stuff in your garage? Then, maybe she could use your guest room for a nursery, just to practice decorating. Each no was met with guilt trips and accusations of selfishness. The final straw came when Mom asked for my spare key for emergencies. She stood in my kitchen, holding out her hand like it was perfectly reasonable. What kind of emergencies? I asked. Oh, what if something happens while you're traveling? Someone should be able to check on the house. That's what security systems are for, Mom. Her face hardened. Family helps family, Eaton. Or have you forgotten that completely? I hadn't forgotten. I remembered every time that help only flowed toward Jessica. But I also remembered finding Mom in my house once before, just dropping off some mail while reorganizing my closets because they were too messy. I'll think about it, I lied. She smiled, satisfied. Good. Oh, and Jessica wants to measure your spare rooms this weekend, for furniture planning. For when she visits with the baby. Visits. Right. I was starting to see where this was heading, and I didn't like the destination. 2 weeks later, my company announced a mandatory leadership conference in Austin. 2 weeks of workshops, networking, and certification training that could lead to a promotion. The timing couldn't have been worse. Or so I thought. You'll give Mom the spare key before you go, right? Jessica asked during Sunday dinner, rubbing her 6-month belly. She wants to check on your plants. I don't have plants, never have. The lie was so obvious it was insulting. I've hired a house sitter, I said smoothly. Mrs. Smith from next door had agreed to collect mail and keep an eye on things. That's ridiculous, Dad boomed. Paying strangers when your mother offered to help for free. Mrs. Smith is hardly a stranger, Dad. She's been my neighbor for 2 years. Family is family, he repeated, his favorite refrain when he wanted something. That night, I upgraded my security system. 8 cameras instead of 4, all with cloud storage and motion alerts sent directly to my phone. I also did something I'd never done before. I called my friend Marcus Smith, a real estate attorney, for advice. Just to be safe, I told him. What are my options if someone enters my property without permission? Family drama? He asked knowingly. You could say that. Document everything. Save all footage. And Eaton? If they cross the line, don't hesitate to protect yourself legally. Family doesn't mean free pass. The morning of my flight, I did a final walkthrough, recording everything on my phone. Every room, every lock, every window. I had a feeling I'd need proof of how I'd left things. Have a safe trip, honey, Mom texted as I boarded. Don't worry about a thing. That text would later become evidence, but at the time, it just made my stomach twist with unease. Day 3 of the conference, I was in a morning session about leadership dynamics when my phone buzzed with a motion alert. Then another, then 5 more in rapid succession. I excused myself to the bathroom and opened the security app. My parents' car was in my driveway. Mom was at my front door, but not knocking. She was unlocking it, with a key I'd never given her. I watched in real time as they entered my house like they owned it. Dad carried a measuring tape. Mom had a notebook. Jessica waddled in behind them, pointing at walls and making sweeping gestures. The audio was crystal clear. The office will make a perfect nursery, Jessica said. We can put the crib where her desk is. That expensive computer setup needs to go anyway, Mom added. So impersonal. A baby's room should have warmth. 2 weeks is plenty of time, Dad said, already measuring the walls. She won't be back until the 23rd. I immediately called them. No answer. Texted. Nothing. Called Jessica. Straight to voicemail. Then I watched as a van pulled up. Paul's custom painting on the side. My parents were letting contractors into my house. I called Marcus immediately. They're in my house, right now, with contractors. Are you recording everything? Every second. Good. Don't warn them yet. Let them dig the hole deeper. How far are you willing to take this? I watched Mom directing the painter to my office walls, discussing color swatches for a nursery. My desk, where I'd worked 60-hour weeks to afford this house, was already being disconnected. As far as necessary, I said. Then let me make some calls. How do you feel about selling? The question should have shocked me. Instead, it felt like the perfect solution forming. If you're still watching, you probably know how this feels. When family crosses every boundary you've set. Hit that subscribe button if you believe in standing up for yourself, and drop a comment about the craziest thing your family ever assumed they could do with your property. Now, let me tell you about the phone call that changed everything. Marcus worked fast. Within 2 hours, he'd connected me with Quick Close Properties, a company that specialized in rapid cash sales. They were known for buying houses as is, closing in days instead of months, and most importantly, they had plans to demolish and rebuild on any property they acquired. We can close in 7 days, the acquisition manager Jennifer told me over video call. Given the circumstances, we can backdate the initial agreement and schedule demolition immediately after closing. How immediately? 48 hours after we take possession. We already have permits pending for that area. It's zoned for multifamily development. I watched my security feed while we talked. The painters had already started priming my office walls. Mom was in my bedroom, going through my closet, tossing clothes into garbage bags. I'll take 20,000 below asking if you can close before I get back, I said. Deal. We'll need electronic signatures and a power of attorney for closing. Send everything now. While DocuSign documents flooded my inbox, I watched the destruction continue. They'd removed my office door to open up the space. My ergonomic desk chair, a $1,200 investment, was being hauled to the garage. Jessica was live streaming the transformation on Facebook, calling it Nesting with Family Help. I screenshot everything, every post, every frame of video, every contractor entering my house. Marcus was building a file that would protect me legally, but more importantly, would expose exactly what my family was doing. One more thing, Marcus said when I called him back. We should schedule the buyer's walkthrough for maximum impact. What do you mean? I mean, make it public, very public. Maybe when your family thinks they're celebrating their successful renovation? I smiled for the first time in days. They're planning a baby shower. Jessica just posted about it, at my house, the day after I get back. Perfect. Days 4 through 7 were torture and evidence gathering in equal measure. I attended conference sessions with my laptop open, security feeds running in a small window while I pretended to take notes. Every violation was documented. They threw away my books to make room for baby supplies. Who needs all these programming manuals? Mom said, tossing a $300 textbook into a donation box. They painted over the accent wall I'd spent a weekend perfecting. Pink is so much more cheerful than that depressing gray, Jessica cooed. They removed my mounted TV to install nursery decals. Babies shouldn't be exposed to screens anyway, Dad declared, apparently forgetting Jessica's toddler-targeted iPad addiction plan. But the Facebook posts were the most damaging, for them. Jessica posted constantly thanking the best parents ever for making my dreams come true. Mom shared photos of the nursery transformation in my house, tagging relatives with captions like, "Grandma mode activated." The comments were revealing. Most relatives congratulated them, but a few asked pointed questions. "Isn't this Eaton's house?" Mom's reply, "She's gifted it to Jessica. Family takes care of family." "That's so generous of Eaton." Jessica's response, "She knows baby comes first." They were creating a public narrative where I'd given them my house. The lie was so bold, so documented, that Marcus actually laughed when I sent him the screenshots. "They're building your case for you," he said. "Keep recording." The sale documents were signed on day 6. Quick Close Properties now owned my house, with closing set for the day I returned. I was technically going to be homeless, but I'd already found a furnished short-term rental downtown. The liberation was worth the inconvenience. Jessica posted a photo of a crib being assembled in my former office. Caption: "Can't wait to bring baby home here." If only she knew how short that wait would be. Week 2 brought escalation. They weren't just redecorating anymore. They were moving in. I watched Jessica's husband Mike carrying boxes labeled "Jessica's kitchen stuff" into my house. My kitchen stuff was being boxed up and stacked in the garage. The security camera caught everything in HD clarity. "Your sister won't need all these gadgets," Mom said, packing my stand mixer, a gift to myself after my first promotion. "She barely cooks anyway." "We should do a full renovation," Dad suggested, eyeing my updated bathroom. "Make it baby safe." "With what money?" Mike asked. "Eaton's savings, obviously," Mom replied casually. "She owes Jessica this much after all those years of being selfish." My savings. They were planning to use my money for their renovation. That's when the letter arrived at my hotel, forwarded by Mrs. Smith, who'd retrieved it from my mailbox. My parents had actually written me a letter, on my own stationery, explaining the new arrangement. "Dearest Eaton," it began in Mom's flowery script, "we've made the executive decision as your parents to redistribute family resources more equitably. Jessica needs the house for her growing family. You'll be happier in a smaller space more suitable for your lifestyle. We've changed the locks for security, and Jessica will be paying you $500 monthly in rent, more than fair. We know you'll understand once you get over the initial shock. This is what's best for everyone." They'd even included a rental agreement for me to sign, backdated to make it look like I'd agreed to this before leaving. I forwarded everything to Marcus and Jennifer. The closing was moved up by 12 hours. The demolition crew was put on standby, and I changed my flight to arrive 3 hours earlier than planned. They wanted to play house? They were about to learn what happened when you played with someone else's property. The full content of their letter was even worse than the excerpt. They detailed a complete financial plan for my life, without my input. "Your downtown apartment, we found a nice studio for $200 a month, will free up your finances to help with baby expenses. We expect $1,000 monthly for the first year. Consider it investing in your niece or nephew's future. Your sister has sacrificed so much being a mother, while you've had the luxury of focusing on yourself." The delusion was staggering. Jessica had sacrificed by maxing out credit cards and quitting every job after 2 weeks. I'd luxuriated by working holidays and weekends to build my career. They'd even contacted my extended family with the news. My phone lit up with messages from aunts and uncles congratulating me on my generosity. Cousin Sarah texted, "So amazing that you're giving Jessica your house. Though surprising, you always seemed so attached to it." My grandmother, the only one who saw through it, called me directly. "Eaton, honey, this doesn't sound like you. Are you really giving away your house?" "Grandma, I'm not giving anyone anything. They're lying." "I knew it. Your mother's been too smug about this. What's really happening?" "You'll find out soon. Just, maybe don't make any plans for next Sunday afternoon." Meanwhile, the transformation continued. They'd hired a locksmith to install new locks, 3 deadbolts, as if that would keep me out of a house I no longer owned. Jessica posted a video tour of her nursery, complete with a custom wall decal reading "Baby's First Home" over what used to be my code review station. The irony was beautiful. They were investing thousands into a property that would be rubble in less than a week. Every dollar spent, every hour invested, was building toward their own catastrophe. Thursday morning, 3 days before my return, the sale finalized. Jennifer from Quick Close called with confirmation. "The funds have been transferred to your account. As of 9 a.m. Pacific, the property at 4257 Maple Drive is officially ours." "And the demolition?" "Monday at noon. We'll need the property vacant by Sunday evening. Our legal team will handle the eviction if necessary, but we're hoping it won't come to that." "It won't. They'll leave voluntarily once they understand the situation." "You sound confident." I watched my security feed as Mom directed a furniture delivery, a $3,000 crib that Jessica had charged to a credit card, assuming she'd pay it off with her $500 monthly rent from me. They're about to host a baby shower at the property on Sunday. Your team should arrive during the party. That's dramatic. They announced to 50 people that I gave them my house. Those same 50 people should witness the truth. Jennifer paused. We'll need you present to handle any disputes. I'll be there, with my attorney. That afternoon, Jessica posted the baby shower invitation publicly on Facebook. Celebrate baby Thompson at our new home. Thanks to family support, we have the perfect space to welcome our little one. Sunday, 2 p.m., 4257 Maple Drive. Our new home. The lies were so bold now that even some relatives started questioning it. My Aunt Martha commented, "Did Eaton sell you the house? This seems sudden." Mom replied quickly, "Family arrangements are private, Martha. Just come celebrate." I screenshot that exchange and added it to my evidence file, which was now over 200 pages of documentation. Marcus had started calling it the nuclear option, enough evidence to bury them legally and socially. The demolition permit was posted online Friday morning, public record, anyone could search it. Nobody did. Saturday morning, I landed at SeaTac Airport 2 hours earlier than my original flight. Marcus met me at baggage claim with a coffee and a folder of documents. "Ready for tomorrow?" he asked. "I've been ready since they changed my locks." "The quick close team will arrive at 2:30 p.m., right in the middle of the baby shower. I'll be there at 2:15. You should arrive at 2 p.m. sharp." "They won't let me in." "That's the point. Make it public. Let the guests see them refusing you entry to what they think is your own house." We drove past my former house on the way to my temporary rental. Cars were already gathering, Mom's book club helping with decorations. Through the window, I could see pink and blue balloons, a baby Thompson banner across my living room. Mrs. Smith was in her yard and waved me over when she recognized Marcus's car. "Eaton? I thought you weren't back until tomorrow?" "Changed my flight. How bad has it been?" "Honey, they've been acting like they won the lottery. Your mother told everyone at the grocery store that you finally came to your senses about family priorities. That Jessica deserves the house more because she's providing grandchildren. Did she mention I sold it?" Mrs. Smith's eyes widened. "Sold it? When?" "Thursday. The new owners take possession tomorrow." She actually laughed. "During the baby shower?" "During the baby shower. I'll make popcorn. This is better than my stories." That night, I couldn't sleep. Not from nerves, but from anticipation. I watched the security feeds one last time as my family slept peacefully in my former house, surrounded by their lies and stolen comfort. Tomorrow, reality would arrive with documentation and a demolition notice. Sunday, 2 p.m. sharp. I stood at my own front door, or what used to be mine, and rang the doorbell. Through the window, I could see about 15 women in pastel dresses playing baby shower games. The Guess the Baby food station was set up on my dining table. Jessica peeked through the peephole and I heard her gasp. "Oh my God, Mom! Eaton's here!" "What?" Mom's panic was audible through the door. "She's not supposed to be back until tomorrow." "Just don't answer," Dad's voice boomed from somewhere inside. "She doesn't live here anymore." I rang again, knocked. "Open the door, we need to talk." "Go away, Eaton," Mom called out. "This is Jessica's day. You can collect your things next week." The guests were starting to notice the commotion. I heard someone ask, "Why isn't she letting her sister in?" I pulled out my phone and called Mom, knowing she'd answer to avoid more doorbell ringing. She picked up immediately. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. "It's my house, Mother." "Not anymore. We've made the decision that's best for the family. Jessica needs this space." "Interesting. Because I have documentation that says otherwise." "Your little rental agreement? We're not signing anything. Jessica lives here now. If you try to evict a pregnant woman, see how that looks to everyone." I heard guests murmuring in the background. Someone said, "This is awkward." "Mom, I'm giving you one chance. Open the door and we discuss this civilly, or I handle it my way." "Your way?" She actually laughed. "What are you going to do? Call the police on your pregnant sister? Go ahead, make a scene. Show everyone what a selfish person you really are." Okay, my way it is. I hung up and texted Marcus. They refused entry, send in Jennifer. I dialed 911, making sure to speak loud enough for the guests to hear through the windows. I need assistance at 4257 Maple Drive. I'm being denied entry to my property by trespassers who changed the locks while I was away. Within 10 minutes, 2 patrol cars arrived. The officers approached me first, and I handed them my folder of documentation, the original deed, the security footage timestamps, and Marcus's legal summary. They're my parents, I explained calmly. They entered my house without permission while I was on a business trip, changed the locks, and moved my pregnant sister in. They're currently hosting a party inside. Officer Martinez reviewed the papers while Officer Kim rang the doorbell. Dad answered this time, his face red with anger. Officers, this is a family matter. My daughter is trying to ruin her sister's baby shower out of jealousy. Sir, we need to see your documentation proving residency at this address. My pregnant daughter lives here. Her sister gave her the house. Do you have that in writing? The baby shower guests were pressed against the windows now, watching the drama unfold. I saw Jessica's friends filming with their phones. Perfect. Mom appeared beside Dad, tears already flowing. Officers, surely you won't traumatize a pregnant woman. This is between sisters. Ma'am, either show proof of legal residency or allow Ms. Fisher entry to her property. It's not her property anymore, Jessica screamed from inside. She gave it to me. Tell them, Mom. Officer Martinez turned to me. Ms. Fisher, do you wish to press charges for breaking and entering? Not if they let me in to discuss this with everyone present, I said, loud enough for the guests to hear. I think Jessica's friends deserve to know the truth about this gift. The murmuring inside grew louder. Someone said, "Just let her in. This is insane." Dad finally stepped aside, forced by the officer's presence. I walked into my former home to find it completely transformed. Pink everywhere. My minimalist living room was now a shrine to baby merchandise. The guests stood frozen, gifts in hand, staring between me and my family. "Hi, everyone," I said calmly. "I apologize for the interruption, but there's been a misunderstanding that needs clearing up." "There's no misunderstanding," Jessica shrieked. "You promised. Mom said you agreed." "Jessica, I never promised you anything. I never agreed to anything. I was in Austin for a conference. You broke into my house." Her friend Brittany spoke up. "Jess, you said she gave you the house as a baby gift." "She did!" Jessica turned to Mom. "Tell them!" Mom's tears intensified. "Eaton, how can you do this? Your sister is pregnant." "Being pregnant doesn't entitle her to commit fraud, Mom." I pulled out my laptop and connected it to the TV, my TV that they'd remounted. "Let me show you all what really happened." The security footage began playing. The guests watched in silence as my parents used a key I'd never given them. As they discussed taking my house while I was gone, as they changed the locks, as they threw away my belongings. "2 weeks is plenty of time," Dad's recorded voice said clearly. "She won't be back until the 23rd. Jessica's friend Michelle gasped. "Oh my God, Jess, you lied to us?" "It's not like that," Jessica protested, but her face had gone pale. "They said, Mom said Eaton wouldn't mind, that she had too much space." "I minded," I said simply. "That's why I never gave you permission. That's why you had to break in." The room erupted in shocked whispers. Several guests started gathering their gifts, clearly uncomfortable. The officer stood by the door, watching everything unfold. Can you imagine the audacity? They literally threw a party in my house that they stole. If this story makes your blood boil, smash that like button right now. And if you want to hear how I turned the tables completely, keep watching. Comment below. Would you have called the cops or handled it differently? The next part is where everything explodes. Dad tried to take control, his contractor voice booming over the chaos. "Everyone needs to leave. This is a private family matter." "No," I said firmly. "Everyone stays. You made this public when you lied to all these people. You ungrateful—" He stepped toward me, but Officer Martinez moved between us. "Sir, I'd advise you to remain calm." Mom switched tactics, clutching her chest dramatically. My heart! The stress! Jessica, honey, are you okay? The baby! Jessica grabbed her stomach on cue. I don't feel well. This stress isn't good for the baby. Her friend Amy, a nurse, rolled her eyes. Jess, stop. You're fine. We can all see you're faking. How dare you! Mom shrieked at Amy. Get out of my daughter's house. It's not her house, I said, pulling out the newest document. And actually, it's not mine either anymore. The room went silent. What? Dad's face went from red to white. I sold it. Thursday. The new owners will be here in... I checked my phone. 12 minutes. You can't sell it, Jessica screamed. We live here now. We changed the locks. We renovated. You renovated someone else's property without permission. That's called vandalism. Mom collapsed into a chair. You sold your sister's home? What kind of monster are you? The kind who doesn't reward breaking and entering, fraud, and theft. Marcus walked in at that moment, perfectly timed. Ms. Fisher, the buyers are here for their walkthrough. The baby shower guests were recording everything now, their phones out openly. Jessica's carefully curated social media image was crumbling in real time. This is illegal, Dad shouted. We have squatters' rights. Marcus smiled slightly. Actually, sir, you have no rights. You're trespassing, and the security footage Ms. Fisher has constitutes evidence of breaking and entering, vandalism, and fraud. I connected my laptop to the TV and pulled up the security footage compilation Marcus had prepared. The room watched in stunned silence as 20 minutes of damning evidence played out. My parents breaking in. She'll never know until it's too late. Them throwing away my belongings. This junk has to go, Jessica directing renovations. My sister owes me this after all these years of being selfish. Mom telling contractors I'd approved everything. My daughter wants her sister to have the house. The Facebook posts appeared next, screenshots of every lie they'd told. Jessica claiming I'd gifted her the house. Mom telling relatives about my generosity. Dad's post about family taking care of family. You told everyone, Brittany whispered to Jessica. You had us all believing Eaton gave you this house. She should have, Jessica exploded. I have a baby coming. She has nothing. No husband, no kids, just her stupid job and her stupid money. That stupid money paid for this house, I said. The house you stole. Jennifer from Quick Close entered with her team, tablets in hand. Good afternoon. We're here for the property inspection. You can't inspect. Mom stood up, blocking Jennifer. There are tenants here. No, ma'am, there are trespassers here, Jennifer replied professionally. We've already filed the eviction paperwork. You have 24 hours to vacate before we begin demolition. Demolition? Jessica's voice cracked. What do you mean demolition? This property is scheduled for teardown Monday at noon. We're building a 12-unit apartment complex. The guests gasped collectively. Someone whispered, They renovated a house that's being demolished tomorrow? All that money, Jessica moaned, sinking into a chair. The nursery, the painting, the furniture. Approximately $15,000 in improvements, I said, having tracked every receipt they'd posted online. To a house you didn't own. Jennifer opened her tablet and displayed the sale documents on the TV screen, replacing the security footage. The sale was finalized Thursday, January 18th at 9 a.m. Pacific. Ms. Eaton Fisher legally transferred ownership to Quick Close Properties LLC for the sum of... She paused for effect. Let's just say market value minus a convenience fee for rapid closing. You sold it while we were living here? Dad's voice shook with rage. You weren't living here. You were trespassing here. Big difference. Marcus stepped forward with his own documentation. Mr. and Mrs. Fisher, Ms. Thompson, you're currently in violation of several laws. Breaking and entering, vandalism, fraud, and theft of property valued over $5,000. We're her parents, Mom wailed. Which makes this worse, not better, Marcus replied. You abused a position of trust. The baby shower guests were slowly backing toward the door. clearly wanting to leave but unable to look away from the unfolding disaster. Jessica's husband, Mike, finally spoke up. Wait, so we don't have a house? You never had a house, I said. You had a delusion supported by my parents' lies. But we sold our apartment, Mike turned to Jessica. You said this was guaranteed. Mom promised, Jessica screamed at our mother. You said Eaton would never fight back. You said she was too weak. The room went silent at that admission. Even Mom looked shocked that Jessica had said it out loud. Too weak? I laughed. I worked 60-hour weeks for 5 years to buy this house. I built my career while you bounced from failure to failure, always rescued by Mom and Dad. Who's weak? Jennifer cleared her throat. We need to complete the walkthrough. Everyone not associated with the sale needs to leave. The exodus began, guests practically running for the door, phones still recording. As the guests fled, 3 more quick-close representatives arrived, along with 2 security guards. They began their inspection immediately, documenting every change my family had made. Unauthorized wall removal in the office, one noted into his tablet. Unpermitted electrical work in the nursery, another added. Multiple code violations in the bathroom modifications. Each notation made Dad flinch. He knew what this meant. They'd not only lost the house, but created liability issues. This is extortion, Mom screamed at me. You're trying to destroy your sister. No, Mom. You destroyed her by enabling every bad decision she's ever made. I'm just refusing to be your next victim. Mike was on his phone, frantically calling someone. Mom? Yeah, we need to stay with you. No, not a few days. Maybe months? Jessica grabbed his phone. Tell her it's Eaton's fault. Tell her Eaton stole our house. Your sister didn't steal anything, Mike roared, finally losing it. You lied to me. Your parents lied. We sold our apartment because you swore this was ours. Family helps family, Dad repeated weakly, his favorite phrase now sounding hollow. Family doesn't steal from family, Mrs. Smith said from the doorway. She'd been watching the whole time. I saw everything these past 2 weeks, the lies you told everyone, how you celebrated taking your daughters home. Jennifer's team finished their walkthrough. The property needs to be vacant by 6 p.m. tomorrow. Any items left will be disposed of during demolition. Where are we supposed to go? Jessica wailed. That's not my problem anymore, I said. Maybe Mom and Dad's house? Oh, wait. You told me they downsized to a 1-bedroom condo last year. Guess you'll have to figure it out like adults. The security guards positioned themselves by the door. Time to go, folks. Dad made one last, desperate attempt. We have squatters' rights. We've been here 2 weeks. Marcus actually laughed. Sir, squatters' rights in Washington require continuous occupation for 7 years. You've been here 13 days. Also, squatters' rights don't apply when there's documented evidence of breaking and entering. We'll sue, Mom threatened. We'll take this to court. Please do, Marcus said, pulling out a thick folder. I have 247 pages of evidence including security footage, social media posts where you admit to taking the property without permission, and contractor testimonies that you claim to own a house that wasn't yours. He turned to the officers who'd remained to keep the peace. Officers, my client would like to file a formal complaint for breaking and entering, vandalism, and fraud. No! Jessica grabbed my arm. Eaton, please, I'm pregnant. You can't send your pregnant sister to jail. I'm not sending you anywhere. You sent yourself there when you broke into my house. Officer Martinez stepped forward. Ms. Thompson, Ms. Fisher, Mr. Fisher, we'll need you to come to the station. I'm not pressing charges, I said, and everyone froze. Yet, you have 24 hours to vacate completely and sign this agreement. Marcus handed them the document he'd prepared. You agree to never contact Ms. Fisher again, never come within 500 feet of her or any property she owns, and acknowledge in writing that you committed theft and fraud. This is blackmail, Dad sputtered. This is mercy, I corrected. Sign it or explain to a judge why you thought you could steal a house. Mom signed first, her hand shaking. Dad followed. Jessica held out the longest, but when Mike threatened to leave her right there, she grabbed the pen. You're dead to me, she hissed as she signed. Funny, you've been dead to me since you moved into my house without asking. As the reality sank in, Jessica completely unraveled. She collapsed on my former couch, sobbing hysterically while Mike stood over her, his face a mask of fury. "You told me Eaton agreed," he shouted. "You showed me texts." I I faked them," Jessica admitted between sobs. "Mom said it would all work out. We're homeless. We sold our apartment for $20,000 under value because you said we had to move fast." The remaining baby shower guests who'd lingered outside were getting everything through the open windows. I could see phones recording, the story already spreading across social media. "Where's all our stuff?" Mike demanded. "We moved everything here." "In the garage and spare rooms," Dad muttered. "We'll get a truck." "With what money?" Mike laughed bitterly. "We spent our savings on the nursery renovation, $15,000 on a house that's being demolished tomorrow." Jennifer stepped forward. "Actually, any modifications to the property now belong to Quick Close Properties. You can take personal belongings, but the fixtures stay." "The crib? The custom shelving? The painted murals?" Jessica's voice rose with each item. "All staying. You vandalized our property. We're being generous not charging you for restoration." Mom turned to me one last time. "How can you sleep at night, destroying your sister's life?" "I'll sleep fine in my new apartment. You destroyed Jessica's life by never making her face consequences. This is just the first time you couldn't fix it with money or manipulation." Mrs. Smith spoke up from the doorway. "For what it's worth, Eaton, the whole neighborhood knew something was wrong. Your parents told everyone different stories about how they got the house." "Dead to me," Jessica screamed again. "You're not my sister." "I haven't been your sister for years. I've been your ATM and backup plan. That ends today." Mike had his calculator out, adding up their losses while Jessica hyperventilated into a baby shower gift bag. 15,000 in renovations, 8,000 lost on the quick apartment sale, 3,000 in moving costs, 2,000 for the baby shower, $28,000 gone because of your lies. "Don't forget the crib," Jennifer added helpfully. "The $3,000 custom crib that's now part of the property." 31,000, Mike corrected, his voice dead. "We're $31,000 in debt for a house that was never ours." Dad tried to intervene. "We'll help." "With what?" Mom snapped, turning on him. "We spent our emergency fund on the renovations. You said Eaton would pay us back." "You spent your emergency fund?" I couldn't help but laugh. "You stole my house and used your retirement money to renovate it?" "We thought—" Dad's shoulders slumped. "We thought once you saw how happy Jessica was, you'd let it go. You always let things go." "No, Dad. You always made me let things go. There's a difference." Marcus had been typing on his phone. "Ms. Thompson, Mr. Thompson, I should inform you that the contracting company has contacted me. Since you authorized work on a property you didn't own, you're liable for their fees regardless of the outcome." "But they got paid," Jessica protested. "By your parents, who want their money back, which means you owe them $15,000 you don't have." The financial spiral was complete. In trying to steal a $400,000 house, they'd lost everything. "We need to call a lawyer," Mike said. "With what money?" Jessica screamed at him. "We're broke. We're homeless. We're having a baby in 3 months with nothing." "Whose fault is that?" Mike shot back. "Who lied about owning this house? Who posted on Facebook that we were moving into our gifted home?" Within an hour, the story had exploded across social media. Jessica's baby shower guests had posted videos of the confrontation. The neighborhood Facebook group was buzzing with, "I knew something was off" comments. Mike's phone rang constantly, his family calling after seeing the posts. I heard his side of one conversation. "No, Mom, we don't own a house. We never did. Jessica lied. Yes, all of it was a lie." Jessica's phone was worse. Her mommy group chat was apparently imploding. She kept reading messages out loud through her tears. "How could you lie to us like that? We threw you a shower for a stolen house? This is insane, Jessica. Her best friend Brittany hadn't left yet. She stood by the door, holding the gift she'd brought, an expensive baby monitor system. Jess, I need to ask. The money you borrowed last month for house expenses, I needed it for the renovation, Jessica admitted. You borrowed $500 from me to renovate a house you were stealing? It wasn't stealing, Mom said. I don't care what your mom said. Brittany grabbed her gift and headed for the door. You're a liar and a thief. Don't contact me again. The social demolition was happening faster than the physical one scheduled for tomorrow. Mom was on her phone too, trying to do damage control with the extended family. Martha, please, you don't understand the full story. No, we didn't break in. We had a key. Well, not exactly given to us, but… Martha? Martha? Each call ended the same way, with the relative hanging up on her. 23 years of reputation destroyed in an hour, Dad said numbly. You destroyed it yourself when you broke into my house, I reminded him. I just made sure everyone knew about it. As the quick close team prepared to leave, my parents made one last desperate attempt at negotiation. Wait, Mom called to Jennifer. Can we buy it back, the house? We'll pay more than you did. Jennifer looked amused. Ma'am, we paid cash. Do you have $400,000 available immediately? We could get a loan? With what collateral? And what credit? You just admitted to breaking and entering and fraud. Dad tried a different approach. Eaton, please, call this off. We'll leave, we promise. Just let Jessica stay for a month until she finds something. No. A week? No. 3 days? Dad, she has until tomorrow at 6 p.m., same as you. Jessica struggled to her feet, mascara streaming down her face. What about my baby? Where will my baby live? That's something you should have thought about before committing fraud, I said. Maybe Mike's parents have room? Mike was already on the phone with his mother. Yeah, Mom, we need to come tonight. All of us. No, her parents can't help, because they're probably going to jail if they don't leave town fast enough. Jail? Mom went pale. Marcus nodded. The documentation I have could easily result in criminal charges. The only reason Ms. Fisher isn't pursuing them is that agreement you signed. But we're family! Mom's last desperate cry. No, I said firmly. Family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't lie, manipulate, and destroy each other's property. You're just people who happen to share DNA with me, nothing more. Nothing. The finality in my voice must have reached them because, for the first time in my life, my mother had nothing to say. Jennifer handed me a business card. The demolition crew arrives at noon tomorrow. Make sure they're gone by then. I stood in the center of what was once my living room, surrounded by the wreckage of my family's entitlement, and laid down the law. Let me be crystal clear about what happens next. You have until 6 p.m. tomorrow to remove your personal belongings. Not the renovations, not the fixtures, just clothes and personal items. You will never contact me again. Not for money, not for help, not for forgiveness. You can't mean that, Dad said weakly. I do. For 32 years, I've been your backup plan. The responsible one who would always bail Jessica out. The one who never needed help because she handled everything herself. That person is gone. I turned to Jessica. You're 28 years old. You've been married twice, you're having a baby, and you've never held a job for more than 6 months. Mom and Dad won't be around forever to clean up your messes. This is cruel, Mom whispered. No, Mom. Cruel was raising Jessica to believe she deserved everything without earning it. Cruel was teaching her that my success was her safety net. Cruel was breaking into my house and trying to steal it. Marcus stepped forward. The restraining order will be filed Monday morning. 500 feet, no contact through third parties, no social media interaction. Forever? Jessica gasped. Until a court says otherwise, Marcus confirmed. But what about holidays? Family reunions? Mom pleaded. You should have thought about that before you changed my locks. I pulled out my phone and showed them my new address, a high-security building downtown. This has a doorman, security cameras, and a strict no trespassing policy. Try to visit and you'll be arrested. We're your parents, Dad's last attempt at authority. You were my parents. Now you're just criminals who got lucky I didn't press charges. Marcus spread the legal documents on the dining table, my former dining table that would be sawdust in 36 hours. This is the no-contact agreement you've already signed. This is the acknowledgement of trespassing and vandalism. This is the restraining order that will be filed Monday. And this, he placed a final document down, is the bill for damages. Bill? Mike grabbed it before Jessica could. $47,000? Unauthorized renovations requiring restoration to code, disposal of personal property, lost rental income during the trespass period, and legal fees, Marcus itemized. Ms. Fisher is willing to waive this if you comply with all other agreements. And if we don't, Dad challenged, then we pursue it in court, along with criminal charges. Breaking and entering carries up to 10 years in prison in Washington state. 10 years? Mom gasped. Each, plus fraud charges, plus vandalism. You're looking at potential decades of combined sentences. The weight of their situation finally fully hit them. This wasn't a family squabble they could guilt their way out of. This was real legal consequence. Sign the damage waiver agreement, I said. Leave by tomorrow evening. Never contact me again, that's the deal. Jessica signed first this time, her hand shaking so badly the signature was barely legible. Mike signed as a witness. My parents signed last, Dad's face purple with suppressed rage. You've destroyed this family, he said as he handed back the pen. No, Dad, you destroyed it when you decided I mattered less than Jessica's wants. I'm just refusing to be destroyed along with it. Mrs. Smith had been recording from the doorway. I'll testify if needed, she offered. I have videos of them moving in, telling people Eaton gave them the house. Thank you, I said, meaning it. Sometimes chosen family is more real than blood. My phone had been buzzing non-stop, but I finally checked it while my family scrambled to pack. 47 messages from extended family who'd seen the social media posts. Aunt Martha. Your mother told us you gave Jessica the house. This is insane. Uncle Robert. Good for you. They've been taking advantage for years. Cousin Sarah. OMG, the video of your mom crying while signing legal documents is everywhere. But the most important call came from Grandma. I stepped outside to answer. Eaton, honey, I saw everything online. Are you okay? I'm fine, Grandma. Better than fine, actually. Good. I've been waiting years for you to stand up to them. Your parents have been poisoning Jessica with entitlement since she was born. Why didn't you ever say anything? Would you have listened before now? Sometimes people need to reach their breaking point. I'm just glad yours came before they completely destroyed you. They're saying I'm heartless, that I'm abandoning a pregnant sister. Grandma's laugh was sharp. Jessica's pregnancy isn't your responsibility. Neither is her housing, her debt, or her lies. Your parents created this monster and now they're facing the consequences. In the background, I could hear other relatives at Grandma's house discussing the situation. The consensus was clear. My parents had gone too far. I'm writing them out of my will, Grandma announced loud enough for everyone to hear. Any inheritance will skip them and go directly to you and Jessica's child, in a trust that Jessica can't touch. Grandma, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Your parents just proved they'd steal from their own child. They're not touching my money. The family divide was complete. My parents had expected everyone to side with poor pregnant Jessica. Instead, they'd exposed themselves as thieves and liars. By 10 p.m., the exodus was in full swing. Mike had rented a U-Haul with his credit card, adding another debt to their pile. They were loading Jessica's things while she sat on the lawn, still crying. I supervised from the porch, making sure they only took what was theirs. Every piece of furniture, every box was checked against my inventory. That's my desk, I said when Dad tried to load my ergonomic setup. We threw it away. You moved it to the garage, it stays. It's worth $2,000. Which is why it stays. Your renovations, my furniture, that was the deal. Mom was packing Jessica's nursery items, each tiny outfit a reminder of their delusion. Where will we put all this? She kept asking no one. Storage unit, Mike answered flatly. Another 150 a month we don't have. The neighbors had gathered to watch. Some filmed, others just stared. Mr. Peterson from across the street called out, Eaton, is it true they changed your locks? While I was on a business trip, I confirmed. That's bold, he said, shaking his head. Stupid, but bold. By midnight, they were mostly done. Jessica had filled Mike's car with garbage bags of clothes. My parents' car was packed to the roof. The U-Haul held the furniture they'd brought in. That's everything, Mike announced, exhausted. The keys, I said, holding out my hand. Jessica threw them at my feet. I hope you're happy. I'm not happy, I said honestly. But I'm free. For the first time in my life, I'm free from the obligation to save you from yourself. She started to respond, but Mike dragged her to the car. We're done here, Jess. Forever. At 5 a.m., my phone buzzed with an email from Jessica. Despite everything, she couldn't resist one last manipulation attempt. Eaton, I know you hate me right now, but please think about your nephew. He's innocent in all this. The pregnancy hormones made me crazy. Mom pressured me. I wasn't thinking clearly. We're at Mike's parents' house. They only have one spare room. It's not suitable for a baby. You have all that money from selling the house. Just $10,000 to help us get an apartment. For the baby, not for me. I'm sorry for everything. You're my sister. Family helps family. Jessica. I forwarded it to Marcus with one word. Violation? His response was immediate. Technical violation of the no-contact agreement. Want me to file? I thought about it. Then typed my response. Not to Jessica, but to Mike, copying Marcus. Mike, your wife has violated the no-contact agreement by emailing me asking for money. This is her only warning. If she contacts me again through any means, I will press full charges, control your wife, or lose her to prison. Eaton. Mike's response came within minutes. Understood. It won't happen again. An hour later, Grandma called. Jessica just called me crying, begging me to talk to you. And? I told her what I should have said years ago, that she's a parasite who finally killed her host's patients. She hung up on me. Thanks, Grandma. Don't thank me. I should have protected you from them years ago. I was weak too, hoping they'd change. They won't. She was right. Some people don't change. They just find new victims. But I wasn't going to be theirs anymore. 6 months later, I stood on the balcony of my new condo in Portland, watching the sunset over the city. The restraining orders were permanent now. The family divide was complete. And I was finally at peace. Marcus had called that morning with an update. Thought you'd want to know. Your parents had to sell their condo. Couldn't afford it after paying back the renovation loans. Where are they living? Rental in Tacoma, 1 bedroom. Your father's working construction again at 58. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not guilt. Just nothing. And Jessica? Had the baby 2 months ago, living with Mike's parents still. He filed for divorce last month. That was fast. Apparently she opened credit cards in his name, $12,000 in debt he didn't know about. Of course she did. When Mom and Dad couldn't bail her out, she found another victim. My new life was everything my old one wasn't. Peaceful, drama-free, mine. I'd joined a hiking club, started dating someone who didn't know my family history, built friendships with people who respected boundaries. The house on Maple Drive was gone now, replaced by modern apartments. I'd driven by once out of curiosity. 12 units where my 4-bedroom house had stood. Families living their lives, unaware of the drama that had unfolded there. Mrs. Smith had sent me photos of the demolition. It was quite a show, she'd written. Your parents drove by right as the excavator took down the nursery wall. Your mom cried. I'd deleted the photos without really looking. That chapter was closed. My phone had been blissfully quiet for months. No guilt trips, no emergency requests, no manipulation. Just peace. Freedom, I'd learned, wasn't just about saying no. It was about not having to. My therapist, Dr. Martinez, had helped me understand something crucial over these 6 months. You were the family scapegoat, she explained during our last session. Your success wasn't celebrated. It was seen as a resource to be exploited. Your boundaries weren't respected. They were seen as selfishness to be corrected. But I let it happen for so long. You were trained from birth to let it happen. Every time you stood up for yourself, you were punished emotionally until you complied. The house situation wasn't the first theft. It was just the first one you couldn't rationalize away. She was right. They'd been stealing from me my whole life. My childhood birthday money that went to Jessica's dance classes. My college graduation gift that became her wedding fund. My time, my energy, my accomplishments, all sacrificed on the altar of Jessica's needs. The interesting thing, Dr. Martinez noted, is that you didn't become bitter. You became strategic. You knew they'd eventually go too far, so you prepared. The cameras were installed a year ago, I admitted. Because you knew this was coming? Because I knew something was coming. The entitlement was escalating. Jessica's demands were getting bigger. Mom and Dad were getting more aggressive about family helps family. And you chose to protect yourself instead of continuing to enable them. Was I wrong? Everyone says family is everything. Family that respects you is everything. Family that robs you is nothing. You learned the difference. I'd also learned my worth wasn't measured in what I could provide others. It wasn't about being useful or generous or self-sacrificing. It was about being whole, healthy, and free. I don't miss them, I told her. Is that wrong? How can you miss something that was slowly killing you? She replied. You don't miss them. You're mourning the family you deserved, but never had. 8 months after the demolition, I received a certified letter. My hands shook slightly as I opened it, fearing some new legal manipulation. Instead, it was from Mom. Eaton, this letter is sent through lawyers to respect the no-contact order. Jessica's baby was born premature. He's healthy now, but the medical bills destroyed them. Mike left. Jessica is alone with a baby at his parents' house. They want her gone. Your father and I can't help. We're barely surviving. He hurt his back at work. I'm bagging groceries at 61. We named you executor of our wills. There's nothing left to execute, but we thought you should know. We've lost everything. Jessica has lost everything. You won, Mom. I read it twice, waiting to feel something. Guilt, satisfaction, pity. Nothing came. Marcus reviewed it for violations. It's technically legal. They went through proper channels. How do you want to respond? I don't? Nothing at all? They haven't learned anything. She still thinks this is about winning and losing. It was never about that. What was it about? Survival. They were drowning and determined to use me as a life raft. I chose not to sink with them. A week later, Grandma called with more news. Jessica showed up here with the baby, begged me to take them in. And? I gave her $100 for diapers and told her to never come back. She called me heartless. Are you okay with that? Honey, I raised one entitled child who became your mother. I'm not raising another. Jessica is 29 years old with a baby. Time to grow up, or give the child to someone who already has. The cycle was broken. It had cost everything, but it was broken. If you're watching this and recognizing your own family in mine, I want you to know something. You're not crazy. You're not selfish. You're not the villain in their story, no matter how many times they tell you otherwise. Setting boundaries isn't cruel, it's survival. Saying no isn't selfish, it's self-preservation. Refusing to be someone's eternal safety net isn't abandonment, it's allowing them to finally grow up. I lost my entire biological family over a house, but really, I lost them long before that. I lost them every time they dismissed my achievements as showing off, every time they demanded my resources as their right, Every time they punished me for having boundaries. The house was just the final straw that made the invisible visible. They showed everyone who they really were, and I showed them who I'd become. Someone who wouldn't be victimized anymore. If you're trapped in a cycle of family exploitation, document everything. Build your support network outside the family. Get therapy if you can. And when they finally cross that last line, because they will, be ready to stand firm. You don't owe anyone your destruction. Not your parents, not your siblings, not even your pregnant sister who needs it more. Your life is yours. Your success is yours. Your peace is yours to protect. Some of you will say, I'm heartless for not helping Jessica's baby. But enabling Jessica would only teach another generation that manipulation works. That child deserves better than growing up watching his mother destroy everyone around her for her own gain. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to participate in the dysfunction. Sometimes saving yourself is the only option that doesn't end with everyone drowning. Your worth isn't determined by what you sacrifice. It's determined by what you protect. Protect yourself. Yesterday, I visited Fisher Community Park, the space where my house once stood. Quick Close Properties had donated a corner of the development as public space, naming it after the original property owner. Me. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Where my family had tried to steal a home now stood a playground where children played freely. A small plaque read, "Donated by E. Fisher, a space for new beginnings." As I sat on a bench watching families enjoy the space, a familiar car drove by slowly. Mom and Dad, looking older, grayer, smaller than I remembered. They saw me. I saw them. Dad's mouth opened like he wanted to say something, but Mom grabbed his arm. They drove on. Mrs. Smith found me there. She still lived next door, had watched the whole transformation. They drive by every week, she told me. Always slow down at the park. Never stop. Looking for what? You, probably. Or maybe just remembering what they lost. They lost nothing. They threw it away. She sat beside me. You know Jessica had another baby? No, I don't keep track. Mike's mother told me. Different father. Living in a shelter now. Your parents can't help, they're being evicted themselves. I felt nothing. Their choices, their consequences. You did the right thing, Mrs. Smith said. This park brings joy to dozens of families. Your house would have just enabled more destruction. She was right. Where they'd tried to build their lies, children now played truth. Where they'd stolen in darkness, families gathered in light. Where they'd destroyed my peace, others found theirs. Fisher Community Park, I said, reading the sign, where boundaries are respected. And for the first time in my life, they truly were. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've dealt with entitled family members who thought your property was theirs, drop your story in the comments. Let's support each other. Subscribe for more stories about setting boundaries and standing up for yourself. And remember, being single, childless, or different doesn't make you less deserving of respect. What boundaries do you need to set today?